The old lighthouse on Crescent Bay hadn't been lit in over 30 years. Its white paint was chipped and peeling, and its iron lantern room was a rusted cage against the evening sky. But to a little girl named Alara, who had just moved into the caretaker's cottage below, it was the most fascinating place in the world. That first night in the strange, creaky house, sleep was a shy creature, hiding from her. The wind off the sea sounded different here, less like a whistle and more like a sigh. The floorboards settled with groans that seemed to hold whole conversations. Alara stared at the moonlight painting silver squares on her new bedroom floor, feeling very awake and very small. Slipping from her bed, she padded to the window. There, silhouetted against a sky full of drowsy stars, was the lighthouse. And at its base, she saw a soft, buttery glow that hadn't been there before. Curiosity, that well-known enemy of sleep, tugged at her. Pulling on her thick-socked feet, the ones with the owls on them, she crept downstairs, avoiding the third step that sang like a lonely bird, and slipped out into the cool night. The path to the lighthouse was overgrown with woolly thyme and seagrass that brushed her ankles with gentle, tickling whispers. As she approached the source of the light, she saw it was an open door, and inside, a room she hadn't noticed in the daytime. It was a circular workshop, warm and still, and in its center, bent over a cluttered workbench, was an old man. He was as weathered and knotted as the driftwood scattered on the bay shore. His hair was a cloud of white, and his eyes, when he looked up, were the color of the sea on a calm afternoon. He didn't seem surprised to see her. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, his voice like stones gently tumbling in the tide. Alara shook her head, suddenly shy. "Neither can I," he said, though he didn't look tired. He looked busy. "Not when the work is unfinished. I'm Orrin, the keeper of the Lull." "The what?" Alara whispered, stepping closer. The room wasn't filled with normal tools. Instead of hammers and nails, there were delicate brushes made of dandelion fluff, tiny silver spoons, and jars that held not paint, but shifting, pearlescent clouds. On the workbench lay what looked like a large, unfinished seashell, carved from pale, smooth wood. "The Lull," Orrin repeated, gesturing to the shell. "This old lighthouse doesn't guide ships anymore, my dear. It guides dreams. Or it did. My job is to craft the gentle hum that helps the whole bay drift off, but I've lost the final piece." He explained that the lull was a soft, resonating sound, woven from evening ingredients, the last chirp of a sleepy cricket, the sigh of a sun-warmed rock cooling, the distant hush of receding waves, and the soft click of a moth's wing against a window pane. He had gathered them all, infusing them into the wooden shell, but the sound was incomplete. It lacked an anchor, a heartbeat to give it rhythm. "It needs the sound of a perfectly contented sigh," Orrin said, his shoulders slumping. "A sigh that holds no worry, no want, just the pure, quiet peace of being safe and ready to rest. I haven't heard one in an age, and without it, the dreams get lost or become restless. The whole bay sleeps fitfully." Alara understood fitful sleep. She looked at the beautiful, hollow shell. "Can I help?" she asked. Orrin considered her, then a smile etched itself into the wrinkles around his eyes. "Perhaps you already are," he said. "Would you like to see where the dreams are kept?" He led her to a narrow, spiraling staircase inside the lighthouse itself. As they climbed, the air grew softer, thicker with silence. Instead of the expected lantern room at the top, they emerged into a vast, circular chamber. The walls were not stone, but appeared to be made of deep, velvety midnight, dotted with slow-moving, luminous shapes. Not stars, but dreaming things. A school of silver fish swam silently through the air. A castle made of sand gently crumbled and rebuilt itself. A fox and a field mouse sat together, sharing a teacup. "This is the dream loft," Orrin said softly. "But see, they're moving so slowly. They're drowsy, waiting for the lull to guide them properly to their sleepers." One dream, a small, fuzzy orb of golden light, drifted listlessly toward Alara. As it neared, she felt a wave of warm melancholy, like the memory of a perfect summer day that has just ended. The dream seemed tired. "It's lost," Orrin murmured. "It needs the rhythm to find its way home." They returned to the workshop. the need to help settling over Ilara like a cloak. She sat on a stool watching Orrin putter. He showed her how to stir the jar of evening mist with the dandelion brush, making it swirl in lazy, comforting spirals. He let her gently polish the wooden shell with a cloth that smelled of lavender and old books. As they worked, Ilara began to talk. She talked about her old home and the scary move and the strange noises in the cottage. Orrin listened, nodding as he carefully glued a tiny iridescent beetle shell to the rim of the lull. "New places have loud silences," he said. "They're full of sounds you haven't learned to understand yet. This wind isn't sighing. It's whispering the names of all the ships it's guided. That creaking floorboard isn't groaning. It's telling you the story of the family who danced here 50 years ago." Ilara thought about this. She listened again, in her mind, to the house sounds, the lonely bird step, the conversation of the beams. They became less strange, more like a story being told just for her. She helped Orrin for what felt like hours, but time in the workshop was as soft as the dust. She wound a skein of shadow thread that was cool and weightless in her hands. She sorted a pile of quiet pebbles by the softness of their click. The work was simple, repetitive, and deeply calming. Her eyelids began to feel heavier than the pebbles. Finally, Orrin set down his tools. "It's as ready as it can be," he said, placing the finished lull on a special pedestal that connected to the hollow lighthouse shaft. "But it still lacks its heart, without that sigh." He looked old and weary then, not with sleepiness, but with the weight of a long responsibility. Ilara felt a pang of deep empathy for him, working alone all these years to care for the sleep of others. She walked over and, without thinking, placed her small hand over his gnarled, warm one. "I'm sorry we couldn't find it," she whispered, her voice thick with a yawn she tried to stifle. It had been a long, strange, wonderful night. The fear of the new house was gone, replaced by the wonder of the lighthouse and the gentle company of the keeper. She thought of the dream loft, full of beautiful, waiting dreams. She thought of Orrin's kindness. She felt a wave of profound safety, a bone-deep knowledge that in this corner of the world, she was where she was meant to be. All the excitement of the adventure melted away, leaving behind a soft, warm emptiness, perfect for sleep to fill. She let out a breath. It wasn't a yawn this time. It was a long, slow, utterly contented release of air. A sigh that carried away the last wisp of the day's worry. A sigh that was pure, quiet peace. "Ha!" The sound was soft as thistledown, but it seemed to vibrate through the very floor. Orrin's eyes went wide. The wooden shell on the pedestal began to glow from within. The tiny beetle shell, the inlaid quiet pebbles, the swirls of evening mist, they all shimmered. And then the lull began to sound. It was not a noise you heard with your ears alone. You felt it in your spine, in the soles of your feet. It was the deepest cello note, played underwater. It was the hum of the earth turning through space. It was the rhythm of a resting heart. Om, om, om. It pulsed up through the lighthouse shaft, a warm, gentle wave of sound that flowed out across Crescent Bay. In the dream loft above, the listless dreams shivered. The golden orb of melancholy brightened, steadied, and began to drift purposefully toward a chute in the wall that led to the village. The sandcastle dream and the fox and mouse dream followed, all moving with serene direction on the pulse of the lull. Orrin looked at Ilara, his sea-glass eyes shining. "You had it all along," he said, his own voice barely a whisper over the soothing hum. Ilara could only smile, a slow, sleepy smile. The sound was seeping into her, unwinding every knot, smoothing every ripple in her mind. Her head nodded forward. "Come, little keeper," Orrin said, taking her hand. "Your part is done. Now it's time for you to receive." He led her back to the cottage, the lulls hum a comforting blanket around them. The house didn't seem strange anymore. The wind whispered welcome. The groaning floorboard told a lullaby. Orrin guided her up past the singing step and tucked her into bed. "Will you be okay?" Ilara slurred, her eyes already closed. "The work is complete," he said, smoothing her hair, "and the lull will play until dawn. Sleep, Ilara." From the lighthouse, the deep, soft pulse continued to spread over the bay. In the village, A doctor who had been staring at the ceiling finally closed his eyes. A baby in a crib stopped fussing, her tiny fist uncurling. An old dog by a hearth sighed and sank deeper into his bed. And in the caretaker's cottage, Ilara didn't just fall asleep. She drifted. A luminous dream, shaped like a little boat with a paper sail, found its way to her window, slipped inside, and settled softly over her. It carried the scent of woolly time, the image of a kindly, wrinkled face, and the feeling of a job well done. Down in his workshop, Orrin finally sat in his old armchair. He listened to the perfect, heart-steady rhythm of the lull, woven with the sound of a child's contented sigh. For the first time in 30 years, a deep, true tiredness, the good and honest kind, settled into his bones. With a smile as peaceful as the bay itself, the keeper of the lull closed his eyes and followed everyone into a perfect, dream-filled sleep.